Hi, Assalamualaikum. I'm Faryaz Hari from Group 3 and our title is Soybean Milk. So first, for the introduction, what is soybean? So soybean is a type of legume that contains three major parts, which is seed coat, cotyledons, and germs. And soybean also rich in unsaturated fatty acid, which is linoleic acid, linolenic acid, and oleic acid. And soybean also contains of 35% of carbohydrates. And soybean also a good source of protein and minerals such as potassium, magnesium, and also calcium. This is the background of factory and product. So for the factory, usually the plant building is made from 80% fly ash, which is the substance that contains aluminous and silicate substance that can form cement in presence of water. And it is very cost effective and environmental safe. Next, why it is important to find a suitable place for plant building, because changes in atmospheric levels of carbon dioxide and oxygen can affect the soybean maturity and quality. And the place to plant soybean also need to be considered because places that have water stress due to high temperature and low humidity can affect the growth of the soybean. Next is the background of soybean. So soybean milk is a popular drink that is originated in China. So the composition of soybean milk contains stable emulsion of oil, water, and also protein. Traditional method, soybean are washed with water and soaked overnight in cooled water, then the soybean are then ground. And water is added during grinding, then soybean milk is produced. Modern method, the soybean need to be heated first before dissolved in water to inactivate the enzyme, which is lipoxygenase, because the enzyme can cause bean flavor or flavor that is developed by enzymatic reaction. And lastly, in processing plant, cleaning to remove foreign substance and contaminants, blanching in sodium bicarbonate solution and at high temperature, fiber separation, deodorization, sanitization, flavoring, homogenization to emulsify fat, protein, and also water. Processing flow of soybean milk production. So usually in the processing flow involve harvesting, which is soybean usually harvest in early September until December. Next is storage. Soybean storage usually stored in storage tank to store soybean before continue for processing. And next is grading. The grading soybeans is needed to remove any foreign substance or materials. Next is dehulling, because soybeans hulls contain unwanted substance that can affect the flavor. Next is grinding. The soybeans will grind in hot solution of sodium bicarbonate. And next is filtration, to filter the slurry soybeans through separator to remove thick soy pulp from the fiber. The formulation, the soybean milk base, pure filtered water and other ingredients are blended together at room temperature. So the slurry can be cooked by indirect steam injection. Next is sterilization and homogenization. Lastly is packaging. So soybean milk is used aseptic packaging, which is Tetra Pak, and using ultra high temperature treatment. So direct method UHT treatment used to inactivate some bacteria and prolong the shelf life of soybean milk.
Next, the good material handling practices, which involve during harvesting, transportation, processing, packaging, and storage. During harvesting, combines are used to separate the soybean from its pod and stem, along collecting them that reduce their duration. The harvested soybean will be loaded into trucks and delivered to storage bins that are rated well to prevent moisture migration. During transportation, extra care must be taken during loading and arranging to avoid crushing. The transport vehicles are restricted to a specific area of the plant. The finished product must be in right temperature to retain the quality and separate from non-compatible product in the same load. During processing, it is important to use steel tank or concrete silos to store soybeans for immediate supply, and use stainless steel equipment that is corrosion resistant to avoid metal contamination. In addition, the maintenance should be carried out according to schedules. The personnel in the production room must follow the guideline to ensure personal hygiene during working on production line of soybean meal. Before starting the packaging operation, the personnel must ensure the workspace are clean from any previous material used. During storage, the finished product must be stored on the rack before distribution, such as pallet drive-in and pallet shuttle rack, which not only save space but ensure traceability. It is important to control the storage temperature below 20 degrees Celsius and relative humidity below 65%. The FIFO system must be applied during storage and the batches must be shipped in correct order. Let us move on to the HACCP critical control point during processing. The table shows the HACCP plan involved in soybean meal processing, which started with the dehulling of the soybean seeds, soaking, heating and boiling, mechanical drying, and lastly, packaging and sealing. Please bear in mind that each step must be carried out correctly to avoid hazards that not only harm the product but the safety of the consumers. It is important to have knowledge regarding the critical limits for the hazard during processing so that the undesirable properties and characteristics can be rejected. Hence, each process must be recorded for monitoring and verification. The table shows the expected final quality of the soybean meal product, which complying the safe parameter for chemical, microbiological, anti-nutritional factors, sensory, and defects. However, if fail to follow the CCP steps, will result poor final product quality and safety.
From this slide, I will present about type of pests involved and ways to avoid according to integrated pest management. These are the common pests that cause losses and damage to soybean at field crop. Meanwhile, rats and Indian meal moth are the common pests that may contaminate the soybean during storage. There are four integrated pest management in managing soybean pests in agriculture. First, scouting fields regularly must be implemented to identify potential problems by pests and disease, thus prevent from using unnecessary pesticide treatments. Second, threshold for action such as chemical control can be used only when the population of insects are excessive and causes damage to the soybean. Third, once the first and second method are no longer effective, another low-risk method such as trapping and rogging will be used. And the last one is the cultural method such as crop rotation or agronomic practices must be used to encourage competitive crop growth. IPM practices in food industry facilities and building consist of three. First, eliminate of pest refuges and pest colonies, such as harborage of insect colonies by limit the accumulation of fine food material that attract pests and ensure the cleaning and hygiene maintenance are applied in the food plant. Second, influence of physical condition control, such as the basement walls of building must be insect-proof, have good land drainage, and the workshop must be air-conditioned. For the exterior building, must use concrete base to stop mammals gaining entry under the fence. And the last one is interior design of food plants and stores for pest proofing. The food product must be stored above ground level to allow efficient cleaning. All cracks and crevices must be sealed. For the doors, it is better to use sensor to detect whether the door is open and use safe closing at the exit door. And use air curtain to prevent from flying insects. From this slide, we will learn about waste produced by the production of soybean and ways to control it. Okara is the waste produced by the soybean milk processing. Since the production of okara is high, it will give bad effect to the environment, and the cost needed to dispose okara is very expensive. Thus, okara is usually will be utilized into other products such as okara tempeh, okara meju, and animal feed. Okara is made by the cotyledon cells that had been broken and the seed coat. So, okara is rich in carbohydrates and protein, and that's why okara is still suitable to be made into other functional products. These are the functional food made by okara, which are animal feed, processed food, meat tausa, okara tempeh, and okara meju.